Welcome to Squatch-D TV, where the truth is first before all else. Join your hosts, veteran investigator, TV personality, and author Steve Kulls, and from the Kentucky Bigfoot Research Project and the Kentucky Fried Fixes channel, Chris Bennett. Sit back and prepare to take yourself on a journey with the longest-running Bigfoot podcast, Squatch-D TV. Here are your hosts, Steve and Chris.
And good evening, cyberspace. Welcome to Squatch-D TV for today's date, April 1st, 2026. I'm your host, your guide, the Squatch Detective Steve Kulls, along with my main man, the co-host with the most, Mr. Chris Bennett. What is happening, brother?
Steve, it's good to see you, man. Today is April Fool's Day. Did you know that?
That's right. Tonight's the last show we're ever doing. No, April Fool. April Fool. Hey, we'll get that out of the way now.
Yes. We have brought Eric Beckford back from the dead. He's going to be our special guest. Oh, no.
Weird.
Yes, there you go. But, lovely weather. Some thunderstorms today, but that's okay. Temperature's nice. Air conditioning weather, though, unfortunately.
Yeah, we had our thunderstorms about 6 this morning. And they were really close to the house because it shook the entire house. Like boom, 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 boom. Like,
oh, yeah.
Man. That one's loud. The dog is scrambling, you know.
Well, the first one I heard today was I thought it was a sonic boom. I was like, well, it's either a jet or a meteor hit the atmosphere.
What time did that happen?
I think it was around 11 o'clock, 11 a.m.
Oh, in the morning. Okay, yeah, because just at around 6:30 Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah.
Or Standard Time. Mm-hmm. Artemis 2 went up in the air to go take its loop around the moon.
Oh, yeah. No, this was way before that, yeah.
Yep. But, yes.
I did watch live, though. I enjoy that kind of stuff. It's nice when we concentrate on good things.
So, boy, we got a lot of info to cover tonight. I hope we can get it done in an hour. If not, we may run just a tad bit over. But we have a lot to pack in tonight's episode, and we're going to be showing you something kind of cool tonight, too, in relation to what we're discussing, with permission, of course. So that's the cool thing as well.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting show tonight. So I know, Chris, you probably didn't get a chance to see it yet. I saw it Monday night, apparently. There's a show out there called Talking Strange with host Aaron Sagers. Check it out over on YouTube, Talking Strange. And this past Monday night, and of course, I think it was pre-recorded, this interview, but at least when I watched it, it was already past. That's the live time. So they had on, of course, Capturing Bigfoot director Mark Evans on with one of the producers, Tamir Arden, who was a producer and a story contributor to the documentary. And the producer is the guy who generally does the work behind the scenes and gets the interviews set up so the director can roll right in and get his job done. So
write that down. Talking Strange.
Yeah. And
check it out.
So in that, there were quite a bunch of new revelations. Some were rather concerning, not necessarily, or even can be considered earth-shattering, depending on what it is. And, they wanted to, and Sagers was a great host. Thank you, Jen. Jen posted it in the chat room. Sagers asked the questions in a way that covered the concerns of the pro-Patterson Gimlin film proletariat.
Right.
And one of the first things they wanted to tackle was the code markings on the film.
Yeah.
And, they state the film on the found footage contains a Kodak edge marking described as a triangle and a circle. This circle identifies the film as 1966 stock film.
Right.
Okay, and again, their claim is it's not guesswork. It's based on Kodak's edge code system and used to date film stock.
Yeah.
They specify the stock as Kodachrome 2 because and it's important because that matches the type of film Patterson was known to use.
Right.
But they emphasize that Patterson's 1967 film used 1967 stock, not 1966. Okay. And that, to me, would kind of make sense. If this is an earlier version, why would they use an old, film to, like a 1970, right? Right. So it all makes sense. In fact, Reel 2 was on 1967 stock as well. They state the film was shot on Kodak K100 on a Kodak K100 camera, and that aligns with Patterson's equipment, and it supports linkage to the same production content. Mm-hmm. So, and again, they also said that the reel is the original camera film, not a duplicate or later reproduction, and this is based on film characteristics in quality and condition. So. There we have it. Now, I'm going to put up a graphic real quick. They did say that it was a triangle and a circle. And we're going to pull up the Kodachrome chart with the slice of the Patterson Gimlin film, which shows it's made in 1967. And this is, just so everybody knows, it's just on its side, the way it comes in from that. But there is Patty right there, and there is MK's bloody pond right there.
Oh, my God, it does look like blood, doesn't it? Ooh.
So, and as you can see,
I have to change my train of thought on that now.
But as you can see, the found footage is going to be a circle and a triangle and a circle, and the Patterson Gimlin film, of course, is right there, square in a circle, square in a triangle. Boy, I know my shapes well too, don't I?
Yes.
So there you have it there. So that, and why would you use older film if it was filmed afterwards? That, so that kind of argument doesn't hold weight so much. And not to mention 1966 stock, by the end of October, it may not be around anymore. I mean, it does have a shelf life. You can't store this film necessarily in heat or anything. You have to store it A lot of people would put it in their refrigerators to keep it as well.
Freezer works good. Yep.
Freezer, yep. So that's how they kept that film going. So that kind of takes care of our film thing. And I'm gonna kill this chat because it's distracting me now. I mean, your thoughts, Chris. I mean, your thoughts so far.
Well, the date or the found on the film stock just tells us what year it came from. It doesn't tell us what year it's filmed in.
Correct.
That's the thing that bugs me.
Right, but one would have thought that if you're shooting the Patterson Gimlin film with the original film that we know of, with using 67 stock, the camera the film that has the 66 stock would have been filmed earlier.
Yeah. So
that makes complete Occam's razor sense, and otherwise we get into some just theories. Well, we can't prove that. Well, no, you can't prove that for certain, but logic would have it as that. And the fact is that there was a statement too that none of Roger Patterson's films after 67 were all shot with 67 stock.
Yeah.
Right. So it makes no sense why the 66 stock would be used after the November or the October 20th.
Yeah, the 67 stock, those were copies, though, right? Those were copies.
No, the original was supposed. They said it was shot in 67, but
yeah.
So but
Well, if they would have made copies, it would have been after the original was filmed.
Well, rumors has it that we may be looking at the original right here, but it got damaged. But and that's the rumor, and I'm not going to continue on with any more rumor on that. But yeah, the film stock was all 67s. So you're going out making copies.
Yeah. Steve, Curious Cryptid says it does tell us that it could not have been filmed before 1966.
Very true.
That's true. But like the thing of it is, though, the date on the film stock doesn't really matter because, I'm sure if I looked around the United States or around the world, I could probably find a fresh roll of 1966.
Correct, but the condition of the completed film would be indicative that it was shot on a relatively fresh roll of film. Because over time, the quality of the film, if you take a 66 film and shoot it in 67 or 68 or 1970, the quality is not going to be as good as when the film is 4 or 5 months old. Because the film does age naturally, regardless if you keep it in a freezer or not. It just slows down the process of its degradation. There have been rolls of film I remember years ago, even in my camera films, like my 110 camera. If I let that film sit around for a year or two, the pictures were often faded and horrible and had defects in them. Right, so old film does not work. It's kind of like milk, and people don't understand it. Film was kind of like milk.
Yeah, they started sealing them with a little foil pack sealed in nitrogen, kind of helped it shelf life.
Right, so things people forget or things people know nothing of because they weren't born of that generation. They don't understand that if you try to use that film in 72, it's going to look like crap.
Right. Yeah. But what I'm really, really, chomping at the bit to know is how they determined when it was filmed, when it was used.
Well, be very, very simply, and Bill Muns actually agreed to this, that it was likely shot in late 66, early 67. Bill Muns actually agreed to that, is based on Patterson's history of using film. All the film he shot in 67 was on 67 stock. Right. Why would he take a 66 stock film and use it in 70 or 71 or 72? Couldn't have used it in 65. So that limits it to like sometime between 66 and early 67 likely. Now, there is a whole nother rabbit hole that I can go down, but I don't plan on going down that rabbit hole just tonight. And the reason why is it's going to be a little bit more detailed, a lot more documents. Right. And we've actually here, what I've been working on is building a timeline of events prior to the Patterson Gimlin film and just afterwards. Yeah. And what that shows is a very good reason why this was probably shot in the first half of 1967. And that's my guesstimate on it. Mm-hmm. That I don't think the 66 film was shot in 66. I think it was shot in 67. And there's some reasons why. But we'll discuss that either Friday or Sunday, depending on what the time constraint we have on it.
Okay.
But just let's hold that thought for the next show or another show, because what I'm compiling here is, like I said, is a timeline that's irrefutable. I'm not adding things to it that are subjective or somebody said. I'm using the documents. The only thing subjective in that whole timeline is the filming date of the Patterson Gimlin film, because that's when we were told it was filmed. Mm. So I have proof of each single thing that's on that. And that opens up some possibilities when this alleged found footage may or may not have been shot. Again, we still have to see what this film is going to show, if it really does show what it shows. But so now we have a timeline, basically, of how the documentary lined up. And this is something they discussed in quite detail. For example, on June 6, 2022, Mark Evans says that's the day he received the first email from Teresa Brooks about the reel found in her father's safe. In July of 2022, 22, the film is scanned. After sending it to be scanned, and it was sent to a lab in North Carolina. He makes mention of the guy's name. I'm not going to repeat that right now. The team received the 4K scan back in July of 2022 and realized it was not the original Patterson film, but a different piece of Bigfoot footage. And that discovery launches an investigation. So late 2022 through 2023, that's when they start their research phase, and they start talking to people like Greg Long, like Hieronymus, like a couple of other people, just to see if everything, because now they have this found footage film. What the heck? So here's where it gets really interesting. This is where we got it wrong.
Yeah, I just wanted to put up the hard discussion, put up there the way you had to edit film back then by splicing. You didn't want to use stock older than a year old. And I could see that because that stuff gets brittle.
Yeah, very brittle, yep.
Yeah, good point.
In fact, I remember that now you think about it. I remember that too, loading some old film on my camera, and as I'm shutting the door on it, it splits.
Yeah.
Or it wouldn't advance when you take the picture because it split.
Right. Yeah.
So then I have to throw out the whole roll and put another one in.
Now, I do have some experience with photography, but never doing these old film cameras. I wished I had them, but just didn't have one.
Right.
I should have.
Should have, would have, could have. If a frog had wings, it wouldn't. If a frog had wings, it wouldn't bump its ass when it hops. Okay.
Well, at that time, rather than using the film cameras like the 8mm, 16mm, they had the VHS camcorders, and they were huge. It looked like a TV camera or something for the guys that carried around on their shoulders. But I just never got into that. For one, they were really expensive. Yep. And two, that kind of took away from, I liked pictures.
Yeah. Yeah. So in early 2024, they have a Bob Gimlin sit-down interview at his house. Filmmakers state that their sit-down interview with Bob Gimlin was shot in early 2024, several months before the later Yakima Convention confrontation. They also indicate this is when they showed him the mystery footage during the documentary process. So we kind of had that out of order in our minds. We thought that was after the fact. It was actually before the fact. So October 25th, 2024 was the Yakima Convention. The event was the 25th and 26th. And the way it was framed is they had permission to be there from the Yakima Chamber of Commerce, who sponsored the Yakima Bigfoot event. And on the 25th, that's when Clint and Bob Hieronymus went up to Bob Gimlin and basically tried to get him to sit down and admit stuff. But we're going to get into that a little bit because, and I have my thoughts on that. So on November 7th was Jeff Meldrum's first interview, and it was a 6-hour-long interview with a couple of hours spent showing him and discussing the mystery film.
6 hours.
6 hours they sat down with him. So on November 8th, the next day, they met Jeff at his office for a follow-up interview. So they even had another follow-up interview. So anybody that was saying that Jeff was ambushed, he was not. No. This was actually set up. And in late 2024, other core Bigfoot community interviews such as Larry Lund and Bill Muns were conducted. And the reason why these were conducted late because they didn't want any leaks to the Bigfoot community just yet.
Right. Makes sense, yeah. Keep everything under wraps.
Yeah. So as of March 26th, the documentary had been screened publicly, was still seeking distribution. We don't know what the status of that is just yet ourselves. But so that is the kind of timeline we have of the documentary. Yeah. So, and that's more than we get from a lot of other things. But
the narrative of being ambushed, though, for Meldrum, I don't think that holds water.
No. Yeah. Or none of the others. They were shown a piece of footage during a sit-down interview. What do you think of this? That's not an ambush.
Right.
Now, Bob Gimlin's first interview, where they show him the footage, that's not an ambush. Again, they were invited into his home. They sat down. They this was planned, pre-planned, and they showed him the film. And that apparently is when Judy shut it down. Then they have later on, later that year with Clint. Now that to me is an ambush, and I'll explain why in a minute. Even though they claim it's not, because they had permission to be there, and they actually filmed on the 26th, the day after this alleged confrontation. And it wasn't really a confrontation, they say. It was very pleasant. Pleasantries were exchanged, and they make it. I'll explain that in a minute. Well, unless you want me to explain it now.
Well, that's the thing. It's hard to ambush somebody at their own home, But
right.
I think maybe not telling him in advance that they had this film they wanted him to look at could be considered an ambush.
I don't think so. I don't see that as an ambush, because you're in an interview and what do you think of this? Okay, that's not that's not really an ambush.
Yeah, is that
right?
You?
Is that you? That's the whole purpose of the interview. I mean, it's an interview where you sit down and answer questions, or you're shown stuff and you answer questions. So that's all par for the course. Where I consider it an ambush is when you're not expecting a film crew to be sitting there in front of you with other people trying to get you to do or say something or commit to something, without proper channels. And like I said, from a forensic interviewing standpoint, the explanation helps them on a few points, but leaves several things that should be treated cautiously. The biggest issue that not an ambush and not an ideal interview condition are not the same thing. First, what helps their side is they say the Gimlin sit-down interview had been arranged in advance. That Clint called the day before, and they were welcome to do it. And they also said the conference itself was a public event, and they had permission to film there. And there were signs indicating filming, and that they were not secretly recording anything in a private setting. If all of that is accurate, that does cut against the strongest version of the ambush claim, meaning a pure surprise confrontation with no notice and no filming authorization. But from an interview reliability standpoint, the more important question is not just whether the filming was authorized, it is whether the setting was suitable for obtaining a clear, unpressured, reliable statement. On that point, the environment appears weak. The conference interaction was public, emotionally charged, socially loaded, and time limited. So there was a line of people waiting. Multiple known parties were present. The exchange happened in a setting where reputation, face saving, and split-second reactions all matter. That is a poor setting for clarifying the truth on a long disputed allegation. Even a cordial conversation in that kind of environment can create pressure responses, appeasement language, ambiguity, or incomplete answers. So what I'm saying is that just because Bob said, "Oh, sure, yeah, we'll do it," doesn't mean that's an admission of anything, because he's going to give an ambiguous because of all these pressures on him around him. This matters even more because the filmmakers themselves acknowledged that Gimlin was in his late 90s, or in his 90s, and that people were questioning his sharpness, hearing, and clarity in that moment. Their answer is basically watch it and decide for yourself. That is fair as a viewer response, but it is not a forensic standard. In a forensic context, when age-related capacity, hearing fatigue, or confusion might be at issue, you do not lean on comprehension and pin down statements carefully. Their own description suggests that it did not happen in the conference moment. So, another issue is the form of confrontation. It involved Clint Patterson and Bob Hieronymus approaching Gimlin together with a come clean with us framing. That is inherently influential. It is not a neutral fact gathering. It is a social appeal wrapped up around an accusation. In interviewing terms, that can function as pressure even if the tone is friendly. A person may respond to relationship dynamics, public discomfort, or a desire to end the exchange rather than to respond with a deliberate, precise statement. So he might want to argue with him, but I'm in line and everything. Oh, yeah, sure, we'll take care of that. Move along,
Thanks,
so
I appreciate
So I think that's important to say.
Yeah.
So I really think that whole Gimlin confrontation, there's really a good argument that he was he was just saying that to just move them along, or I'm not going to get into a pissing contest with all these people around. And then, of course, the next day he went on to speak on stage, and again told the same story that they had seen a creature the next day. So his narrative.
Yeah, I think Steve's got it too. Curious Cryptid says, really, people used to use a charged word like ambush just to skew perception. I'm shocked.
Right. So where I think it may not be an out-and-out ambush, it's still, to me, a little bit ambushy.
Well, here's the thing. That the interview at his home, I don't think that's ambushing him at all. But now catching him at a conference, at a public conference, and then asking him, questions.
And he's a 90-year-old guy, too.
Right. That's not too great for the case of not an ambush.
Right. And we're not saying that his age had any factor necessarily, but you have to respect that when you ambush somebody like that, and I'm going to call it for what it is. I'm going to call it a mild ambush. It wasn't like an angry confrontation. It was kind of a friendly confrontation. Like, listen, we're just going to come clean on this. And you got all these people around you. What are you going to do? Call yourself a liar in front of all these other people if he was, right? No. So why would they expect it? To me, that would have been the worst area to do that, because what the filmmakers don't understand, as from a forensic interviewing standpoint, the way to get somebody to admit to any type of wrongdoing, you have to lower the moral significance or the moral implications of that. And he's at a conference where he is the Grand Master of Ceremonies, who's everybody's come to hear about Patty and the famous 1967 film. So obviously, if you did have something to hide, you're certainly not going to spill it right then and there amongst the crowd.
Yeah. The hard discussion says, also, Steve, a nonverbal nod of agreement could be regarded as a yes when virtually no thought was placed into that response.
Right, because you're sitting there, and there's people, and I'll give you a great example. I had interviewed, actually, it was like a double interview. Like my superior decided to interview this woman, and he was using the Wicklander method. And she was 68, but we had caught her on camera stealing over $365 in a period of a week. And she had been working there 11 years.
Wow.
Right? So how long had she been getting away with it?
Yeah.
Right? So as he's talking to her, she's leaning in and yeah. So that nodding and verbal language, really, it could be because of hearing, with the lean in, like as of hearing.
Right.
And then he couldn't get anywhere with her, and then he switches over to me, so I use a different method called the read method. And I just say, Sarah, 1, 2, 3, on this day you stole this amount of money, and this is what you did. On this day you stole this amount of money, this is what you did. On this day you stole this amount. And when I got to about the 4th or 5th entry, she said, okay, you're right. I did it. And my boss looked at me and he's like, all right, you got this. I'll step out and let you finish up.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's all we wanted. We're not going to make a big deal. That's what we wanted to know. And then I later got her to admit to stealing over $25,000 over the course of 11 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
She shouldn't have done that.
Right. Right.
So plead the fifth.
Well, you can't plead the fifth. I'm not a criminal investigator.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I'm not a law enforcement investigator, right? So
I'm going to exercise my right to remain silent. I want a lawyer present.
Well, that's okay, because we're going to. But you understand, when you psychologically break somebody down like that, they will give you everything we need to know.
You let her know that you already knew.
Yeah. Okay, so so that is what I think about the whole Bob Gimlin thing. Is I do think he was kind of ambushed. I would say not a major ambush where he shocked. They knew they were filming. They just kind of moseyed on over to him when Hieronymus and Clint showed up. So it wasn't like, he gets out of his car and, hey, Mr. Gimlin, or he opens up the door and surprise. That's a traditional ambush. So,
Woodbooger Farm says, how would one drum up a lot of talk about their new film on an old topic that has been covered a lot? Well, the Patterson Gimlin film is arguably the most covered film in history about Bigfoot.
But the problem is you have a new film.
Yeah.
So
it's just supposedly
really,
just puts at the rest, maybe.
Yeah, the discussion is not that. The discussion is more about this new film.
Yeah.
About the old film, and that's why what has become. Again, if it turns out to be a hoax, every dog does have its day. I mean, how long did the surgeon photo float out there for? That was about 60 years as well.
Long time, yeah.
So hopefully not, but again, we have to all see this documentary to get certain, and I will stand by that my gavel will not drop until I see the documentary.
Absolutely.
So the Jeff Meldrum interview timeline, very important here. So on November 7th, 2024, and I got to remember, I have two versions of this. One, I kind of missed working on some of this because I actually copied it from transcripts. So on November 7th, he's interviewed for 6 hours. It's a long form session. And this was his initial exposure to the found footage. I know it says the mystery film here, but it's found footage. And it had captured his immediate reactions and analysis. And what he has described by not only did we have Eric Palikos discuss him saying, oh my God, are those breasts or boobs or however he words that. But his on-camera response is characterized as serious and weighty and not dismissive. And then, according to Mark and his producer, as he was leaving, he kind of joked with him and said, I don't know if I'm going to have a job after this. And
Meldrum.
That was Meldrum saying that as he's walking out. And that does sound kind of like his sense of humor.
Yeah, it does. It does.
What they understood is he understood the implications immediately, not after extended debate. Right. And then they talked with him the next day at his office, and they gave him time to reflect. They wanted to end it after that because they wanted him time to think about that and process that.
Exactly.
And even reach out to some other folks too to discuss what he had seen. But
that's fair. That is fair.
Right?
I like that. Yeah.
Right. They didn't really hold him down to too much after that too. So the next day, what they described is kind of a semi-quote saying the Patterson Gimlin, his thing is, well, the Patterson Gimlin film may have run its course. So basically he said the Patterson Gimlin film may have run its course. However, he did not abandon the belief in Bigfoot itself, and he emphasized the footprints evidence and broader body of research independent of the Patterson Gimlin film. Exactly. And to me, that's very condemning.
Yeah. True professional right there.
Right.
Yeah. Doesn't matter. The Patterson, if you debunk the Patterson Gimlin film, you do not debunk Bigfoot.
Right. So he did have time to reflect a little bit and say, well, it's not as bad as I think. There's all these other pieces of evidence here that indicate.
Yes, we can say for certain.
Right. And folks, I'm only reporting what was said, so don't come down on me for that. So we're all going to have to make our own evaluations when we see this film. And we have, and like I said, we can't stick our head in the sand on this and say, I'm not going to watch it. You got to watch it. You have to. It's part of your do as a researcher and commitment to research and investigation. So we have to be honest with ourselves. If it meets that burden of proof, we have to be honest with ourselves, unfortunately. And as much as I hate, like I said a couple of weeks ago when all the shock was, I wish this film never came out, wish we weren't talking about this, but unfortunately it is what it is. So we will cover it. And that was our goal, purpose in life here on this channel, was to cover the important news stories. And this is like one of the biggest ones to hit in quite some time, and quite a while, probably the biggest one in 60 years since the Patterson Gimlin film itself.
Right. And the reason we know Dr. Meldrum was under NDA, Because after this, well, during this time and after he would have watched that video, I know for certain Steve had sent, and I hope you don't mind me sharing this, Steve, but Steve had sent a copy of his new book to Dr. Meldrum to look at, review. And Dr. Meldrum would have said something to Steve about this had he been able to.
Correct.
I am certain. Okay.
Yeah.
Mark it down. It would have happened, but
Right.
you know, when you signed, of course, you know, I'm certain he was no stranger to NDAs. Okay, especially when you film documentaries, you can't talk about it before they come out. Yeah.
And like I said, my chapter in the book was based on the work of Dr. Jeff Meldrum and Bill Muns,
yes,
and Dr. John Bindernagel and Dr. Grover Krantz and everything they had said about. So they talk about interviewing Bill Muns, and his reaction was that he acknowledged that the film stock and condition indicate it was likely shot in 1966 and early 1967.
Yeah.
He contributed to some of the side-by-side comparisons of the subjects and identified structural similarities between the found film subject and the PGF film subject. So he described, noting some consistent features between both the subjects. But, there is some contextual limitations, and some of Muns' statements were confirmed off camera. So there may be a director's cut. There may be a director's cut coming. So you never know. But
Well, I hope so, because, from what I understand, from listening to the shows that Bill has been on since this came out, Bill's not convinced.
correct. And, the thing is I've seen some interviews with him, and I know people. Somebody is trying really hard to get him on this show, but he's not a video guy, so it would have to be phone, and we know the quality sometimes that we can have hearing on phone interviews. We have the capability of doing it, but the fact is he's done numerous ones. I mean, you can watch any one of those podcasts. What am I going to say special to that, right? So I if you've done 3 or 4 podcasts in the last week, coming over on this side of things is not going to really, to me, influence, because we try to tell both sides of the story.
Yeah. Bill knows we're looking at the evidence.
And from what I understand, on one of those particular podcasts, he actually confirmed a lot of what the filmmakers were saying, right? So, he is parroting exactly what this says. Yes, there are some similarities. Yes, there are. This was likely shot in 66 and 67. But this is the reason why I don't believe, because nobody could make a costume like that. Yada, yada, yada. So, I mean...
I was impressed by Bill's description. He said of the new film, he said it was obviously a costume.
That's interesting, and that may be, again, you have to look at the reflection of a scientist and a non-scientist.
Right.
And that could be the difference there too.
Well, yeah, but we got Bill Muns here, who has studied the Patterson Gimlin film arguably more than anybody else. And I don't know if you put him up against M.K. Davis, but now what the work Bill Muns has done on the Patterson Gimlin film, I think he's at the top of the list. All right.
Well, and, he may be so, but that also adds the
Bigfoot Society gifted 10 memberships.
Thank you, so Jeremiah.
Much. We appreciate that, Jeremiah. Thank you.
But I think. There could be a level of confirmation bias there too. So to me, it could fall either way. Could it be an expertise? Right. Absolutely. Could it be confirmation bias? That too.
Yeah.
Great
channel, by the way, too.
Yes, check out Bigfoot Society podcast.
Check it out. Yeah.
So anybody got anything for Steve-O here while we got 20 minutes left to show? I can't believe I got through this material as quick as I did.
You did a good job, bud. I'm proud of you. You did good. That's a lot of reading to get through.
Yeah. So yeah, so as you can see, I'm trying to shoot down the middle here. I'm trying to play devil's advocate on both sides.
Yes.
You know, like the whole ambush thing. I'm sorry, that whole Yakima thing, that's no bueno. You don't do that in front of a crowd like that with people around surrounding, with your handlers there, with your, whomever is there listening, and oh my goodness. And of course he's, even in the best case scenario, let's say he was fabricating the story all these years, he's not going to admit that there. Just not. He may just say, yeah. Sure. We'll come clean and just to get rid of him. And that's the,
I can't see the wisdom of trying to throw him under the bus at a crowd of a Bigfoot event like that,
Well, I think that was the only reason why they put that in there, because they never did meet again. Judy shut that down.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right. So
I would have too. It's like you're halfway through your hamburger somewhere at a restaurant, and somebody comes up and says, "Well, you need to admit that you did. That's you, isn't it?"
Yeah, in that particular scenario.
Yeah. Oh man.
So I don't know. I like I said, handling those type of interviews as a forensic interviewer, that was not an ideal situation at all. I wouldn't have done it out that way or confront anybody in public, because you're, number one, that's not. It's like somebody trying to challenge you when you're doing a lecture.
Yeah.
Hey, if you want a sidebar afterwards, that's fine. Yeah. Right? I'm not going to interrupt you mid sentence and say you're wrong about that.
We'll take questions after the presentation's over.
Yeah.
Oh, Kaiju Ninja says Bill does have books to sell. Well,
very true.
Everybody's got books to sell.
Yeah.
And
sure welcome, Kaiju Ninja.
Good to see you. And I'm sure Bill will come out with a new book on this new film. I'm sure he will. Well, I can't say for certain, but I believe he will. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. And there a lot of people talk about the money motive, and there's everywhere you go, there's money motives. We showed what was it last week? We showed the money motive on Al Diatley and Roger Patterson. We showed the money motive there. We showed they're incorporating a business. We show them, hitting the road tour. We see that they made like what would they say? Something like $500,000, $400,000 back in 1969 and 1970 money, which is the equivalent to a few $1 million today. Right. So so there's a money motive on all sides of this, no matter you look at it. So that's why when people say money grab, I think the most people don't understand that Hollywood doesn't necessarily like debunkings too often in this type of genre. I will say that most of the productions I've worked for kind of fight tooth and nail to debunk something, unless I really, push the button on it, or come up with something really solid and concrete. So that of itself, even though they have this found footage, even though they have all these interviews, is the public really going to be interested in it? Are they going to pay? That's a big gamble, right? So is it a cash grab? Well, maybe in our little Bigfoot world, we think, that the world revolves around certain things. It does not. You step outside, and there's, politics, religion, and economics, and all this other stuff going on.
Mick, killing me.
Yeah, well, you know what? If you watch the interviews with the director and now the director and the producer, this is no scam. I mean, it hadn't been a scam, I think Eric Palikos would have called it out.
Yeah, Alex said, "Hey folks, hope everybody's good. Not sure if it was mentioned, but the interview recently with Mark Evans and the producer was pretty interesting. They answered a lot of questions people asked.
Yeah, that's exactly what we were going off of. Yep. Yeah. And they did. They answered all.
Bugs Mitchell.
Hey, Bugs, what's going on, brother?
Thanks so much.
My old good friend there. So Bugs was one of him and Susie Mateus was the one who I met at LAX during the 2013 Dire Dupe.
Yeah, that was what, the Bigfoot baby or something.
Yeah. So
it's hard
there
to keep up with all his hoaxes that he came up
that was
with.
the picture of Bugs and me raising our glass at the Holiday Inn having a cocktail.
I remember that. Yeah.
We never went to the stupid sign like you wanted us to. Here we are having a drink at the bar, having a good time, and seeing some coast to coast friends. So
thank you, Bugs. For
I appreciate that.
Thank you. We appreciate you. Thank you. Oh man. And when will Capturing Bigfoot be released? I can't wait to see it. That's the question.
Thank you. And, we have so many new people here. Welcome, one and all. Let me just say that.
Austria. Yeah.
Austria. Well, is it? Let's see. Austria is what? Maybe 7 hours?
In the morning there.
Guten Morgen. We do not know the date yet of release. It has not been announced. They're still working on a release on a deal for distribution. So,
thanks, Alex.
Yep, I kind of figured Alex had just popped in.
Oh, Mick, gifted 5 memberships.
Thank you, Mick. We appreciate it. So, Mick,
officer and gentleman, thank you, sir.
Yeah, we'll be cutting some new membership videos soon because the weather's turning nice again here. So we'll be doing more videos. We'll be I may do a live, and of course in May we have that. Just another short month away or so. It's probably going to start the second week of May because the first week of May I'm going to be at the Ohio Bigfoot Conference. So officially announced. Yes,
Alan Hughes, Alan Hentagas. I'm sorry about the last name. Alan. So why would the sun ruin a cash cow?
I think he meant SON, son.
Yeah, I think so too.
Well, that's the whole thing. If you listen to Eric Palakos's version of it, and even Mark Evan alludes to it, that Clint wanted to do this 8 years ago, 7 years ago, whatever, and his mother kind of disowned him for wanting to do that. And they actually show that's right, we busted the Bigfoot baby hoax. Yeah. And the and there's even supposedly there's even a letter. Oh, I am so sorry that you have to work. I don't know if I'm saying this properly because it's been a long time since I had to speak German, but Arbeiten ist kaputt. Ja, ich spreche Deutsch, aber nicht so gut. At least that's understandable. Meine Wortschatz, it's kaputt. So hopefully you'll get a couple of chuckles out of that one. But yeah, apparently Patricia wrote a letter to Clint, which he kept and showed. And I don't know if they excellent. And I don't know if they showed it to I think it appeared in the film where, Patricia did some really mean things to Clint, but they end up reconciling in the documentary. And that's where leads to Patricia Patterson's statements, according to Eric, about it was Bob Hieronymus in the suit. It was a fake film, and this film was cursed. So we'll have to see to confirm all that. And I know Eric said it, and I believe Eric, but I still need to see with my own eyes. I think that's what we all need to do is see with our own eyes, to let and sleep on it and let it reflect for a night.
Yeah.
Because I think the next day you will wake up with a lot more clarity, whether what you saw was a falsehood or not.
Yeah, I'm thinking we're going to wake up the next day with a lot more questions, too.
You never know. But there's questions that you may not get answered.
Yeah, that's true.
Because, we have one, the main player, the two main players in it, Roger Patterson and Al Diatley, they're gone. We may never know some of the answers.
And it's, as Steve said earlier, Curious Cryptid, that we do know that it was not shot prior to 1966 because it's on 1966 film stock.
Right.
So that would have been. So now we have to take into the timeline of when Roger Patterson was making film, and that goes back to Bill Muns, and he would be an expert about that.
So over the weekend, I'm going to have a little more insight to this whole thing as well, because arriving tomorrow what the hell is arriving tomorrow?
So many people bash the documentary without seeing it.
Right. I've never seen a documentary bash without anybody seeing it before. So arriving tomorrow, and this is going to help me kind of gain some perspective from a man who is deceased. Arriving tomorrow, Do Abominable Snowmen of America Really Exist? Written by Roger Patterson. That is arriving at my house tomorrow.
Oh yeah. I've read that. That's good.
So I'm gonna read into that.
One of the old classics there. Yeah.
And people are like, why would you buy that book if you think if you think because insight is worth all 1,000.
I don't think that's that's out of print now, isn't it? What's out there is all you'll ever get.
Right. Well, it's not. There is a company reprinting it now.
Is there? Mm-hmm. Wow, I'll be dang. Yeah. Okay, I might have to grab me a copy of it then.
Yep. I mean, if you think about it, Patton read Rommel's book.
Yeah.
Right. So,
there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with reading, and I would highly recommend, parents take away your children's devices and give them a book. And if it's a book about Bigfoot, hey man, that'll draw their attention. Whatever. Something that they will enjoy. Give them a book.
So I written my first book I ever got in Bigfoot was a book called The Abominable Snowman, and it was about the Yeti and Nepal and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And it was written by Eric Baum. And then it wasn't until like the last 5 years that I found out that Eric Baum was a pseudonym for John Keel. So it was written by John Keel.
I think I've read that book too.
Yeah, John Keel wrote The Mothman Prophecies, one of his most famous books and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, no, Ivan T. Sanderson did a lot of stuff.
And I have a 1963 printing of Ivan Sanderson's book here. Mm-hmm. Found that in an old bookstore. Got it for $20.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was like, oh my God, this is Ivan Sanderson's book.
Yeah. I love his stuff, man. He was like, I don't know what you'd call him, a promoter, an adventurer, and a cryptozoologist.
He had that little debonair mustache.
Yeah, he was like into everything. And one of the reasons I love him so much is because he did a journey to the center of the earth thing back years and years ago at Mammoth Cave. It was so cool.
And you know what I managed to download? I managed to download the documentary that they were showing on some of those ads. Remember, I was showing you the ads of Patterson going around the country with the Kansas City Theater and stuff like that. I actually have the film they showed now.
Yeah.
So, man, I have my stuff stocked up on this now.
Cool. Yeah. And we do have a question for you, Steve. I don't know if this is up to you. What are your opinions on the Cabin in the Woods channel? I like how he tells the stories, but he also comes across as a bit of a attention and money grabber.
Well, I would say this. We did an expose in not early last year, but probably towards the third quarter of last year. And he did a video on the DNA study by Melba Ketchum, and there was nothing but fabrication after fabrication in that. He called Melba Ketchum a geneticist. She's not. She's a veterinarian. She has no geneticist background at all. No formal necessarily. I don't want to say formal training, but she was not a geneticist. They in the same video, they claimed Dr. Meldrum acknowledged her work as being legitimate. Not true. They acknowledged Dr. Haskell Hart acknowledges her work as legitimate. Definitely not true. In fact, he wrote a book completely turning the whole study on its end. And then he
a 2-hour show here.
Yeah, a couple of times.
A couple, yeah.
And then finally, he plays an audio he writes that Shane Spencer said was this. And Shane Spencer actually confronted him and said, "You totally misquoted me. That's not what I said." And he responded by deleting that That post.
Just deleted it. Yeah.
That's Cabin in the Woods. He is.
That's a problem.
And let's face it, one of his first live streams he had on Todd Standing, and that should tell you all right there.
Now, don't get me wrong. I think, Bigfoot story channels, they're great. They've got their thing, if you're into entertainment and
sure.
fiction, that's fine. But when they start trying to
he's not a story channel.
Right.
He's a truth twister.
Yeah, that's a little different. Yeah,
that's a lot different. I can appreciate a Sasquatch Chronicles, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Versus what Cabin in the Woods is doing, which is completely twisting the truth.
And Steve says, I don't care when it comes out. I'll be waiting for the watch along notification from Steve and Chris. Thank you, sir.
Yes. We are just so and that does premiere, whether it be on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Chris and I will set a time that we are going to sit and watch it together.
Yeah.
Of course, we can't show it on screen, but you'll have our live reactions as we watch the documentary. Yeah. And we're going to work out some kind of signal to each other where we'll stop the video, and we'll discuss what we're hearing, listening, and try to digest.
Okay. We're pausing in 3, 2, 1.
Or maybe we won't. Maybe we'll just let it play and save it to the end. But I really think that we need to have some discussion going on during that to make the live stream kind of fun and interesting. And
oh boy!
And if people want to join in with us and watch it live for the first time, so we're all watching it together for the first time, you just have to watch it. You have to watch it on a separate screen, and then when we go pause, you got to pause it, and then we'll talk about it. But
yeah.
So I think that'll be a real fun thing to do. It's something that, who knows?
I can't wait to see it. I'm going to see it. There's a lot of stuff that's, a lot of questions I have. I hope that it can answer.
Certainly. But anyway, Chris, guess what time it is?
It is almost that time, isn't it? Real research operates with one agenda, the truth. Cabin in the Woods and many other channels do not pursue the truth. They pursue profit and attention. Absolutely. I would say that's correct. But we're all about the truth here. No matter where it leads us.
Yep.
Sometimes it's in a great place. Sometimes it's like oh boy, I really wish that didn't happen.
It's a quagmire, yeah.
But thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate having you. And it's always a pleasure and a thrill and honor that you would choose to hang out with us on Wednesday nights. We appreciate it. And if it's first time watching the show, make sure you subscribe to the channel, smash the thumbs up button, leave a comment down in the stream below. That's the best way to support the channel. Maybe if you got a little extra change on you, buy some merch. That really helps us out.
Or a book.
Or a book. Yes, that helps, and it'll help you too. We appreciate you guys. We know we got the greatest audience we could ever hope to have, and this is only made possible because of you. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
And folks, again, we have the greatest audience in the world. We love you guys. Hello to all the new members. Great to see you here. Welcome aboard. Welcome to the family. We like to talk Bigfoot, but we like to talk the truth about Bigfoot. It's really important that it's about the truth. So welcome. And, if you look at the bio of me or Chris, you'll understand that's, we have a long histories of being an investigation in Bigfoot stuff. So we'll have a lot of fun. I do not disagree sometimes. Anyway, again, we'd like to thank everybody for being here. Thank you guys for the super chats and the gifted memberships and stuff like that. We appreciate it. We couldn't do this without you. We will see you all Friday night. Tonight's hump day, but we'll see you at the end of the week right here on Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern, for another hour of a rousing round of Squatch-D TV. So until then, everybody, stay safe, be healthy, God bless, and of course, keep on squatching. We'll see you here Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. Love you guys. Peace.
We thank you for being here with us on Squatch-D TV. If you haven't taken the time yet, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And oh yes, hit that notification bell too. We don't want you to miss anything. If you really like our content, you should consider becoming a member. And it's really inexpensive and a great way to support not only the show, but honest Bigfoot research. Everyone have a great week. Be safe and God bless. We will see you all here next time on Squatch-D TV. Keep on squatching.